Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we're going to be playing with some super coolant. That's right, both our rockets just finished their stops at this gilded asteroid field, which has 10% fullerene. The Peace Venisat 7's already back on Brino, and the Spirit of Peace Virgo 14 is on its way. Now, we did decide to use the solid rocket port unloader, that way our dupes wouldn't have to manually transfer everything inside this large cargo bay down to our colony. And right here is the 1,805 kilograms of fullerene, which of course means we're going to need a molecular forge. Now the question is, where do we put this 1.6 kilowatt hungry boy? I suppose we have nothing on this level, and we want to have somewhat easy access to be able to run a conductive power line, so we'll end up putting it right around here. First things first though is we actually need to remove some mesh tiles and lower it, because our molecular forge is a big boy and requires 5 tiles high. Now it's going to take the dupes a quick second to get to that because, well, we queued up a lot of digging. We've managed to get rid of about half of this entire area. We got a little bit to go, but so far the cleanup is going decent. That means the only areas that we'll still need to contend with are these 2 biomes here and a tundra biome, but chances are we'll leave the tundra biome for quite some time. And of course we're going to keep New Bee City because our bees are still doing a great job collecting all that beautiful enriched uranium. And I'm starting to get annoyed with all of these conductive wire runs, so I think we're actually going to tie directly in to our beautiful heavy watt wire. All we need to do that is make a hole. I think right about here is good. We'll put a heavy watt joint plate in, and then all of our big power consumers will just hook up directly to the grid. I love when it's one of the newer dupes that gets one of the massive construction projects. Shuri here has been building this molecular forge for about a half a cycle, and she's not making much progress. It's not really her fault though, she has a 0 construction speed. But we can just take her and say, hey, Shuri, go over here. Do something else. Thanks. And then our favorite guy, Star-Lord, comes over here and does it, and Shuri's still running around. So here's our molecular forge setup. Remember, the molecular forge is required to make supercoolant. To make supercoolant, you need 1 kilo of fullerene, 49.5 kilos of gold, and 49.5 kilos of petroleum. But you'll notice there's no liquid input for petroleum on the molecular forge, so you have to bring it in by bottle form. So we have this little petroleum deposit here. We're just siphoning some off of our plastic production, and the system is simple. It has a hydro sensor that says, hey, when this gets above 500 kilos, shut this vent. And that way, dupes who are working in the molecular forge have easy access to petroleum. And whenever this petroleum gets low, this hydro sensor will send a green signal to this liquid vent. The liquid vent will open and refill the pool with petroleum. Now, how much supercoolant do we want? Well, we want all of the supercoolant. We're just going to go forever. Anytime we get some fullerene, turn all of it in to supercoolant. Now, how much is 1,805 kilos going to get us? A lot. It only takes 1 kilo of fullerene to get 100 kilos of supercoolant. So with 1,800 kilos of fullerene, it looks like we're going to have 18 tons of supercoolant. Now, figuring out a ton of liquid can be difficult, but if you look at 1 tile of water, that's 1 ton. So all said and done, we're going to have about that much supercoolant. You may have noticed when clicking on the molecular forge, there's actually another way to make fullerene, and that's by using 90 kilos of graphite, 5 kilos of sulfur, and 5 kilos of aluminum. The problem is the graphite. Graphite's one of those rarer materials that you don't see too often. There may be planetoids that have a lot of it, but the one we're sitting on definitely isn't one of them. It could be that graphite is only there as a way to recycle your fullerene, because if you take 100 kilos of fullerene, put it through your rock crusher, you're going to get 90 kilos of graphite back and 10 kilos of sand. But like I said, I've never seen a planetoid with graphite. I've also never seen one of these asteroids have graphite either. That could be just me not looking hard enough, but so far, I haven't seen graphite in the wild. But now that we have our molecular forge set up, it's time to put some power onto it. Now we've gotten rid of all the old conductive wire, now we're just waiting for the iron to be delivered for our new heavy watt wire that we're using to directly connect to all these hungry machines. So we'll just say anything over 1,000 watts, we're just going to directly connect it to the grid. Now, Dr. Strange here is masterfully just standing beside the device. Apparently, it's a safety protocol that you have to sit by the device just in case it blows up. I don't know, but either way, we're about to have some fullerene. I also wanted to give another update on some weird functionality. Remember the old gas spacefarer input port that, according to its own description, can be used to vent gases to space during flight? Well, apparently it's broken again, because this gas pipe is clogged up and is not venting anything into space. Now, I've tried to stop the rocket. Maybe it could only vent while the rocket was still, but alas, we have no joy there either. Just something to keep an eye out, because this bug completely breaks this system, and now we're having a lot of excess carbon dioxide starting to pack up into the Spacefarer module. We now have over 600 kilos of supercoolant, with plenty more on the way, but we're going to be taking this supercoolant and starting to replace all the coolant in our thermo aqua tuners. And it's a good thing, because this thermo aqua tuner that was responsible for keeping this chill plate cold for our petroleum, well, it needs a little bit of help. You can see instead of ice, it's actually created steam. To do that, we're just going to drain all the existing coolant right into the petroleum main line. We'll bridge it on, that way there's no question about direction of flow. And then we're going to put a liquid pump here and bridge on the supercoolant the same way. To make the process a little quicker, we'll go ahead and stop the flow of petroleum from the petroleum boiler, wait for this entire line to empty, and we'll be good. Now we need to pump the supercoolant on. We use one of our bottle emptiers, go down to supercoolant. They're already in bottles, so you don't have to enable auto bottle or anything. The key is you don't want to put too much supercoolant in this pool though, because you want to be able to mop it up so you always keep it in bottle form. One key of doing that is actually counting how many pipes are in your coolant line and remembering that each pipe holds 10 kilos of supercoolant. In this case, we have around 25 pipe segments that need supercoolant in it. So it's going to take a bottle and a quarter to get the 250 kilos of supercoolant that we need. So the first time, we're just going to let them throw an entire bottle of supercoolant on it, like this. The next time, as soon as just a little bit comes out, then we'll stop it. Now let's connect it and get it loaded up. And just in case we manage to miss the dupe coming to deliver the next bottle, we're going to put sweep only. And that way, nobody else is going to deliver any supercoolant until we are ready for it. I started seeing petroleum coming the other way and realized, yep, did it again. Flip the bridge. All right, this time we're ready for real. Beautiful. Now the supercoolant's going to be piped on. Fast forward it a little bit. It's going to be comical how much better the supercoolant is over the petroleum. The supercoolant actually starts off pretty warm because it's sitting here in our industrial sauna that's around 120 degrees. But it's not going to take any time for that thermo aqua tuner to bring it back down to temperature. So we have the first bit on, and you can see there's still a couple little gaps in here that we want to make sure we take care of. So we'll just try to get 30 or 40 kilos out of the next bottle and be done. All right, Hawkeye, who's really excited about getting his own series, just dropped off more supercoolant. Now we'll pause it and just uncheck the supercoolant so it takes the bottle off. And now we'll see how we did. But the great thing is now that it's in a pipe, we can always use the extract pipe contents and someone will come by, get the rest of the supercoolant out of these pipes so we can serve every little bit of it. And now all we have to do is clean up the mess, but I wanted to take a note that it is cycle 1353. Our supercoolant's around 90 degrees Celsius. So we're going to see how long it takes for the supercoolant to chill this ice block down and then finally start to be able to transfer some of the chill onto these metal tiles. Our second rocket came back with another shipment of fullerene. So now, even after creating a bunch of supercoolant, we're sitting at almost 4 tons of fullerene. And already, we have over 2 tons of supercoolant. We're also going to do the same thing with our thermo aqua tuner for our sleetweed farm. So we just dumped all the petroleum here, and now we're going to fill this loop up with the supercoolant. Then we're also going to fill the entire main line that's keeping the sleetweed going with supercoolant as well. It's the sort of things you can do when you have 35 tons of supercoolant on your hands. But more importantly, it'll take a lot less thermal energy to be able to keep this sleetweed farm going. Now we drain these pipes the slow way. We just use the empty pipe contents command, but you can see they've already done it, so we can actually cancel the rest of them. Now we can make sure it's reconnected and then start to actually load some supercoolant on. We can delete this bridge here, and just for convenience, we'll throw it on right here. Oh, look at that. There's still one more glob of petroleum. We can fix this real quick. Pliers here, pliers here, and a quick empty. And we have a lot of supercoolant getting ready to be loaded onto this line. And already, just after that brief touch of supercoolant, some of the sleetweed is waking back up. Not too shabby, only 1 or 2 blobs of extra supercoolant. We can get rid of this bridge and then clean up the rest of the super coolant and we should be good. Now, because we're playing with a different type of coolant, we're probably going to have to play with this number a little bit. For petroleum, we had it set all the way down at -30. And that's because we needed so much chill into this little box to be able to pick up just enough for the petroleum to spread its chill around the sleetweed farm. So we'll see how it goes for a little bit, just like with our petroleum cooler down at the bottom of the colony. I wanted to show you an update that hit since the last patch. Our Radbolt generator is suffering from Radbolt decay. This building is unable to maintain the integrity of the Radbolts it is storing, and it's because it has 75,000 Radbolts. Additionally, you'll also notice that these wonderful little shine bugs are now producing 1,741 rads per cycle, with 1,132 rads per cycle hitting the actual generator. In fact, you'll notice most everything got a radiation upgrade. Now, a single Wheezewort is putting off 480 rads in the bottom tile, which is a significant hazard to dupes. Even our new B City has a lot of radiation just standing around. Lucky for us, our dupes are in the lead suits, but still, it's something to keep an eye out for. They also have a couple new buildings. One is the beautiful radiation lamp, which takes in uranium ore and just spits out radiation. And then perhaps my favorite new building, the Radbolt chamber. This is how you're supposed to store Radbolts. And what's great is it's only 120 watts, whereas our Radbolt generator is 480 watts. So there's definitely going to be some changes in the meta on how people are accomplishing the same old stuff with radiation. But needless to say, 1,741 rads per cycle from only 35 shine bugs is a significant increase, and you want to watch out for your dupes. There's something about a sleetweed farm that is being perfectly chilled. So it's been about 10 cycles, and this has been running, and you'll notice that the water here is down to about 33 degrees. And you might be thinking, hey, that's taking a long time. Well, not really. Because these doors are shut, we're actually chilling these tiles as well. This petroleum is coming through at 106 and leaving at 71. So we still have some more headway to go, but it is definitely reducing the temperature down here. And it's a good thing too, because this whole area is getting heated because of that petroleum. Not a huge deal, right? It is rime, except now it's about 70 degrees right by our oxygen center. More importantly, it's heating up the water that's coming in for these pipes and overheating these crops. I'm not too worried about it. We have 7 million calories, but all of this is going to be fixed just in a matter of time. All of that supercoolant is going to end up cooling the petroleum, and that way when it takes the long trip to get to these liquid reservoirs, it's only passing chill and not heat. I think Star-Lord's found his favorite job. He's been sitting here for a few different batches of supercoolant. And the great thing is now that we have it automated, we have the fullerene here and then the gold here. The auto sweeper just loads it up. Oh, and there we go. Star-Lord's gonna sit there again. Way to go, buddy. So you may remember from last episode, I wanted to increase the amount of slicksters to see if they could make a dent in the carbon dioxide. Well, they haven't made a dent. There's now 174 kilos of carbon dioxide, and there's 112 slicksters in here. Looks like we're just gonna need more slicksters. And yes, you are seeing the screen correctly. We're running at 6 frames per second when we're zoomed in on the slicksters. If we back all the way out to here, we get a solid 12 to 13 frames per second. We're sending Thanos and Ant-Man back out, collect a little bit more material, and do a little bit of recon. But I wanted to introduce you to 2 new rockets that we're going to be using in some of the upcoming episodes. The first is our rover rocket. Now, our rover rocket is equipped with a cartographic module for now, and that way, no matter where we send old rover, our telescope here will be collecting more information as well. The idea is that we'll send rover to any of these new planetoids. We'll drop rover off, see what he can find out about the place, and decide when and how our dupes are going to conquer that planetoid. And then we'll bring the rocket back and head over to a new planetoid loaded with a fresh rover. Now, once we do have rover successfully landed on a planetoid, we can then send our Trailblazing rocket. Now, our Trailblazing rocket has 2 Trailblazer modules, and that way we can land both the modules, create a rocket platform, and land the rocket down. It is equipped with 3 solar panel modules to be able to give us a little bit of extra power when we sit down on that new planetoid. Both of our new rocket types are equipped with 2 large liquid fuel tanks and the single large solid oxidizer tank to give them a total range of 20 tiles, which should be plenty. We did receive some comments that said, You know what? In my playthrough, there was some point of interest in this last ring, which would require a round trip range of 22 tiles. For now, the 20 range limit will do because we have a lot of work to do before we need a 22 range rocket. We've also brought home a couple of new artifacts. And in the meantime, anytime one of our drilling rockets comes back, we're going to have a couple of fresh artifacts. Here, Poison Ivy is researching what I believe is the wristwatch, which brings our total artifact count up to 3. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like they have fixed cosmic archaeology quite yet, because all 3 artifacts are listed as space artifacts. And we know we found the magma lamp on this home planetoid, so it should be counting as a terrestrial artifact. So unless I have something completely wrong about terrestrial versus space artifacts, I don't believe we're actually going to be able to hit the cosmic archaeology directive. So if you know of anything I'm missing when it comes to terrestrial versus space artifacts, please put a comment below. And will you look at this? 2 POIs in the last ring. Looks like we're going to need that long-haul rocket after all. Also in the background, we finished up our digging, and we've managed to collect over 800 databanks, which will be enough to finish up the last of our research. Now this colony is going to take probably 20 to 30 cycles to finish cleaning up all the digging mess, getting all the super coolant down to a level that we want it to, cleaning up this giant disaster area, and we've temporarily turned off our petroleum boiler. That way we can give our petroleum cooling solution a chance to sort of catch up. So I have plenty of work to do in the background. I know this episode didn't have a lot of meat and potatoes, but it still took a long time to record. But regardless, I still hope you had a good time. I know I did, and I'll talk to you soon.